Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular episode, I'd like to talk about the credible fear interview and what is required, what is possible with the particular situation, and how it might be able to help you. So when does this come into effect? When does the credible interview take place? Well, basically, because we're the United States. The United States allows people who are being persecuted, tortured, imprisoned, under the certain categories, to escape essentially to the United States in order to attempt to seek asylum. Okay, and if they qualify, then they can get asylum and ultimately the green card. They will obtain refuge in the United States and they won't have to leave. And so there's different processes upon which people can apply for asylum. It's affirmative or defensive asylum, depending if you're put in removal proceedings or you just decide to affirmatively apply. But in any case, what I'm concentrating on this particular video is one aspect of the whole process, which ultimately is the very beginning of it for people entering the United States. It is the credible fear interview. So in sum, what happens is somebody comes to the United States, they're about to be expeditedly removed because either they don't have valid papers or they have false papers in one way or another. And before they are essentially kicked out of the country and deported back to their home country, they essentially say, look, hold up, I fear being killed, I fear being persecuted. There's bad stuff that's happening to me in this country. Can I apply for asylum? Well, the way that works essentially is, assuming that they voice their opinion that that's what they want to do, they are entitled to have an asylum official come to them while they're in detention, because that's what's going to happen. You'll be in detention, and interview you. And the asylum official will determine whether you have a credible fear of persecution. It's called the credible fear interview. And that's what it does. It doesn't determine whether you're going to win asylum or lose asylum. It just determines whether or not you have a real fear of returning to your home country. And if you do, then what happens is the case then is referred to the immigration judge for what is real removal proceedings under what's called Immigration and Naturalization Act 240, and there you can apply for full-blown asylum, and you have all the different hearings and the testimony and the evidence and the asylum application and everything that would be required in order to try to win an asylum case. Now, if the asylum officer does not believe that you have a credible fear of returning to your home country, then at that point there's a couple things that could happen. First, you will just be expeditedly removed to your home country, and that's that. You basically tried to come in, you didn't get the credible fear interview pass, and then you got deported back to your home country. Well, you should be aware that after the interview, if it is determined that you, by the asylum officer, that you do not qualify for the case to be transferred to the immigration judge, you can request that the immigration judge review the decision of the asylum officer to determine if there was an incorrect ruling of the credible fear interview. And so what you're asking is not that the immigration judge, review the case and determine, if you qualify for asylum and should get asylum. No. What you are requesting is that the immigration judge review only the decision of the asylum officer as to whether you qualify for the credible fear interview, whether you have a true and actual fear of returning to your home country. Now, if the immigration judge, which by the way has to do this within 7 days, So it's not like you're going to be sitting in detention for the next 2 years while the immigration judge reviews this. The immigration judge reviews it within the next 7 days, and then if the immigration judge believes that the asylum officer did in fact make an error and did in fact not properly rule on the credible fear issue, that can be reversed, and then once it would be reversed, your case would then get transferred to the immigration judge or immigration court for full-blown removal proceedings, so you can apply for asylum, withholding of removal, or convention against torture. Those are all related to asylum. Keep in mind that you can't come in under this basis and then apply for something else in immigration court. That's not allowed. So, for example, if you come in to try to get a credible fear interview, and then you end up getting it and being put into removal proceedings, you can't then apply for adjustment of status or cancellation of removal or some other grounds that you think you might qualify for. It's just related to asylum. Now, there's one other alternative. When you come in, if the officer, which I've had this before, basically what happens is a person comes into the United States, again, either they have false documents or no documents, and they want to request a credible fear interview, and they don't present the evidence properly, there's no declarations, they're nervous and they don't say anything that would help their case. Well, then the case comes to me before they're expeditedly removed. I can then make a motion to the asylum officer who gave the interview to reconsider, basically to do a re-interview of this particular person by showing what evidence wasn't included, why perhaps the client didn't say what was relevant or said stuff that was completely irrelevant, either way. So that's basically the thrust of how the credible fear interview works. Now, another question people usually ask me is, do they qualify for bond? Well, the answer is when you're doing the credible fear interview, when you're actually in front of the asylum officer, you're not entitled to bond, okay? You will be in detention. You have to expect that. But if the asylum officer agrees that you did pass the credible fear interview and that you are entitled to apply for asylum, then you are entitled then to apply for bond. And sometimes it'll be nothing, depending on if you have criminal history or not. Sometimes it'll be a minimal amount. It really depends on what it is set, but that's how that will work. So you apply for bond after. Now, if the asylum officer denies the credible fear interview and you want the immigration judge to review the case, why then you will remain in detention for at least those 7 days while the review is going forward. Now, for people who come to my office, what we do is we actually prepare the credible fear interview packet so that the client will have it at the time they enter the country, because they're entitled to the interview. So, why not get the help? If they have a real case and they're, fleeing their home country, why just come in without anything? So we'll prepare, the various country reports to show what they're saying has validity, the declarations, affidavits, whatever evidence to show that they fall under the particular requirements to hopefully pass the credible fear interview. While having an attorney is not guaranteed at these, most of the time the asylum officers will permit it if it doesn't delay the proceedings. And the reality is it really just makes it go faster because we help push everything forward in a manner that makes it go smoother. So there's all different factors that are looked at and determined. The hope, of course, is that you get an asylum official that is trained in asylum more than 1 or 2 months, that they have an idea of what's required, of what credible fear is, and what the burden is. Keep in mind the burden of proving a credible interview, again, is less than the burden to win asylum. You don't have to prove or win asylum in order to win the credible fear interview, or in order to get a yes, okay? And so, as far as the determination, while it's always an uphill battle, get the credible fear interview passed first, and then when you come to my office, then we supplement and get a real good asylum application out that has all the necessary facts. So that basically, in a nutshell, is what credible fear is about. Some people say, well, do stowaways qualify? Well, the answer is yes. Anybody, let's just say that they're a stowaway because they were trying to escape their country because, their family might have been persecuted, their neighbor might have just got killed, whatever it is. So if a stowaway requests the credible fear interview, then the United States government has the right in which to, or the duty in which to give it. Now, that's not to say that every asylum official is going to give a fair hearing or is even going to give one. So that's why it's best that you have counsel and an experienced immigration attorney to help you with this, so that you do not end up in a position where you followed all the rules and still you don't get the interview and you are deported. Okay, and so that's how that'll work. Now, if you do get the credible fear interview granted, you'll get what's called Form I-863. That is a notice of referral to the immigration judge, and that's where you can apply for full-blown asylum, get the bond and all that. If you get it denied and you want to see the judge, or have the judge review it, then you'll get it on Form I-869, which is entitled Record of Negative Credible Fear Finding and Request for Review by an Immigration Judge. And that's that. Who is entitled to this? Well, to get the credible fear interview, anybody who comes to the United States with no documents or false documents. It's pretty wide open. So again, you could hop on a plane tomorrow, have no visa, no passport, nothing, assuming the plane lets you on, come into the United States, drive into the United States, have no papers whatsoever, and request a credible fear interview. And if you get it, then you're in, and you can then apply for asylum. And as far as the fraud goes, there's ways of dealing with that, because sometimes people will have to do what they have to do to escape the persecution. So given that, that essentially in a nutshell is what it's about. If you like the video, click like, subscribe to my channel, and there'll be more videos coming in the future. Thank you.